Welcome to Foosball Pioneers of Canada. I'm Richard Tench, and this is Peter Tielens. Peter, who are we talking to today?
Well, I got to say, I might have to change my shirt.
Is it too black?
Well,
I see.
Okay, I just had to do that. Yeah. Today we're talking to Eric Dunn, a well-known Canadian foosball player. I've had the pleasure of watching him from pretty much the start of his tournament experience, I think, and watched him grow as a player. And, he's more than just a player, and it's been a great addition to Canadian foosball.
Welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Well, I think that we'll start out with your beginnings. Like, where did you start to play? We talked a little bit earlier about that.
So I first noticed a foosball table when I was going to high school in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. There was an arcade there, and in the arcade they had a foosball table. I was busy into the arcade games, but there was always this frantic action and these frantic fights and this just emotion and passion over this foosball table. And literally fights would break out and they'd take it outside and they'd resolve it and they'd come back and they'd continue to play. Mm-hmm. So I was fascinated but scared to death of foosball. But then I went to U of S when I went to school later. And so in there, they had a table there. So then the table there was not the same environment. It was very, university level. Mm-hmm. Everyone was friendly. There was no fights. So I climbed onto it right away. And I just fell in love with it from the first get-go. Like, I was always curious when I saw it within that our arcade. But I got the chance to actually touch it and play in a nice environment at U of S.
Not to put an age on you or anything, but what approximate year would that have been?
Late 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, late 80s. Every 86, 87.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you started playing, and what was your progression? Was there players that you noticed that you kind of emulated or anything like that?
I wouldn't say emulated, definitely competed against. There's one guy that was there so when we played, the games were to 10, no slop goals. And so it was like no slop goals, and you couldn't do the same shot twice in a row. So you had to have quite the repertoire of shots, and you had to have them all clean. Games took a while. So this first year that I played, and there was this one guy, he just owned the table and he won every time, and I lost every time I played to him. Mm-hmm. But then right at the end of the year, it was like there was a couple really close matches that he still won. But then the year after that, then I started to win every game. And then I just kept practicing and kept just trying to, get my game better and just went from there, and then just played throughout university for sure. And there was starting to be tournaments in bars for bar tabs. Oh, yeah. And so we go out and we play on Dynamo. So within the university, there was a TS Brown Top, and then we played on that. And then in the bars, there were Dynamos. And so we go out to the bars and play on Dynamos, and we win bar tabs. Of course, a lot of motivation. You're university, going to school, and you want to win some bar tabs. It's always good, and pay for drinks and whatnot. And so just continued to do that, and did that until I finished school. 5 or 6 years later, probably played too much foosball. I would say I got a master's in foosball and a minor in computer science, because the amount of dedication and time I put into foosball, I probably played 3 to 4 hours a day. Mm-hmm. Easily. Yeah. Wow. And then I'd sometimes go to class. Mm-hmm. So, that's what I took away from U of S. But after that, then I moved out to Ottawa after that. Mm-hmm. And then first thing I did when I moved out to U of S and got a job in the real world was buy my own table. And I had that set up in my basement before I got to bed. I had like a futon slid underneath my table. Wow. And I'd sleep on that, and I'd practice on my table, and I'd just try to get people to come play with me.
Is that a Dynamo?
No, that was a Tornado. Okay. So I actually went down to the States to buy my Dynamo, but then they had a Tornado. There at it, I've heard about tornadoes, and I saw there's a bit of inkling. There was like message boards just popping up, maybe like not a message board per se, but not a news feed, but an email, those email forums, whatever they're called. News groups, yeah. There was those starting to pop up, and so there was talk about this tornado and tournaments, and of course this is days before the internet. Information is hard to get, and you don't really know what's out there, and you always think you're the biggest fish in the sea when you're playing locally. So then I always wanted to go out and find out what was happening, so I was researching, trying to find other players to play, places to go, because I was the best one there. I always wanted to reach out and go find places to play. And So I went down to the States to buy my Dynamo, and they had a Tornado within the actual games room, the actual showroom. So I tried the Tornado, and I was like, this is a solid table. This is, oh my God, the ball rolls straight, and it just felt solid. I'm buying this instead. It was roughly the same price, so I brought that home instead.
Yeah.
Like just on the spur of the moment, you know.
So when was your first kind of meeting or seeing really good players?
Probably a year after that. So I bought my table, had a couple guys from work coming over playing, and we would go down to the eastern states. So I was living in Ottawa still at the time, and we go to some tournaments like I went to Syracuse and whatnot, and little things there. But just little things, nothing major. I think my first introduction down there, I saw Billy Pappas when he was 11, I believe, and he was phenomenal, like even then. So so that was like minor tournaments there. But probably my first big tournament was 94 or 95. 94? I think it was 94. Striker tournament. Striker was on, I think it was called, what's it called? No, it was called Dynamo Striker. And they had a big tournament somewhere down east. It was like $25,000 tournament. And that was the first one where I saw the likes of like Todd Lafredo and players like that. I mean, I actually remember playing Todd Lafredo. I was shooting a pull kick at the time. And he was like, "Oh, your pull kick's so smooth, like I can't react to it or something." I scored like once or twice, which is too much for him. But still, that was the first introduction to players of that caliber, and just really seeing what there was at the professional level, and that just spurred me on the more.
You know what's funny is that in '95, Moy and I went to. I was a big Boston fan, Boston Bruins, and I always wanted to go see a game in the Gardens. So the Gardens was getting torn down. So Moy and I, my brother, got a ticket to Boston to go watch the Bruins play, right? And while we're there, we decided, there's a tournament, a little bit north. Let's go to that tournament. And Billy Pappas was there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in 1995, so about the same time. And
Yeah. You might have been cross paths. Who knows?
And Billy Moy won the tournament, and I think Billy came in second, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Anyway, so then, what year was it that you came to one of our tournaments?
That'd be 2000. That's when I moved out west. Was 2000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was still playing in like between 94 and 95, and then started to go to like bigger tournaments, just whatever tournaments I could go to. I was drive 5-6 hours down south, down east, and just that was just every weekend not every weekend, but whenever I could, hop in the car and just drive down east somewhere and go to some tournament.
That's awesome.
But I tried to get some things going locally within Ottawa, and so that's where really there's quite a big foosball scene in Ottawa today. And really, this all kind of started from that. So at one of the tournaments I went down to, Steve Rogue was a promoter.
Yeah.
And he actually gave me a table. He said, "Take this table, take it back with you, and then put it in a bar somewhere, and I'll split the quarters with you." I was like, "Okay, sure. I'll take the table." So I go back to town, try to find a bar to put this place in. So I'm going around to all the bars to try to tell them I want to run tournaments. I'll bring people in, and I got this table, and they wouldn't let me put it in there. They really said, "No, I have a exclusive contract with the vending company." So I go to the next bar, same thing.
Yeah.
So I find out eventually that there's this company, Regent Vending, that has exclusive contracts across the whole city. That with all the vending machines, whatever it was, foosball, pools, cigarettes, whatever it was, they would have a exclusive contract. So I was kind of like gave up, and I was like, okay. But then a week or two later, I got a phone call, and it's this Regent Vending company. They're like, "We want to come down. Can you come down and talk to us?" I'm like, "Okay, sure, whatever. I don't know what this is about. Maybe I've been pestering them too much or bugging their customers."
Yeah, we need to have a talk with you.
Yeah, it was a talk with you. It wasn't that kind of talk, thankfully. But so I go down there, and they're like, "What do you think about if we buy 10 tables and you run a foosball league for us?" I'm like,
"Ooh,
yeah." And and we'll pay you. I'm like, "Yeah, again." So every single player I got to join the league, they paid me for. And they just want me to run the league. So they bought the 10 tables, and they put them in all their places, their locations. And then they started to run the first membership of the Valley International Foosball Association leagues. Because they were big. Regent was big in pool, and they were very used to running pool leagues.
Yeah.
But then foosball came around.
Yeah.
And this is when I think Tornado and Dynamo and Valley, they combined, or someone acquired someone.
Yeah, Valley ended up, I think Tornado combined with
Dynamo.
Valley Dynamo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like there was like
Tornado bought out Dynamo or something, and then
they all ended up to be the same
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah.
But then they started to promote as a promotional venue, which worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
To actually say, here's this league that you can be in, and the winners of the league is handicapped, so anyone can come in and compete and have a chance to win. And the winners get a trip to Vegas, all expenses paid. Well, the league paid for the trip through the entry fees that the league gathered, and it was just and yeah, so I was like, you have this promotion, say you want to win a trip, you just come play foosball, and it's in one of these bars once a week. It costs $7 a week. Come down, play, and then there's I just get people, and teams would form, and had 4 or 5 player teams in each location. And so that's like 50, 60 people. Now you have all of a sudden from nothing, there's 60 people playing foosball in Ottawa.
That's awesome.
Which is great. And then a lot of them just kept going and whatever. They started to learn kind of how to work the system because it's handicapped and there's a trip on the line. So you had to, and I built a whole bunch of stuff around it. I built a website that tracked all the stats and all the goals and the goals against and stuff. Like I had this whole website with everything. I taught myself PHP and databases. That's what I do for a living is computer science. But just taught myself this thing, set up a website, and I just had this website for league standings and league stats, and people ate it up, and they go look and say, hey, I got more goals than you. And
so that's probably why Ottawa still has a league scene today, right?
Yeah, it's very strong. Yeah, the people that took it over when I moved out west in 2000, Chris Thomas and others, they took it over, and it's still going strong. Yeah,
it's a great thing.
Great community, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I went out for the Hall of Fame induction, and I was just very impressed, just happy to see really what's continued there and how just it's really a community there. There's like in a lot of scenes sometimes you see some competitiveness, and there's just some circles of people that are kind of tired of competing against each other, but there it seems just everyone's just happy that everyone helps out. Like people at the tournament was just like people were helping out left, right, and center. People coming in, helping tear down, helping set up. It was just a total community thing, which is so great to see.
So really you didn't really have too many mentors then? You just kind of developed on your own kind of idea?
Yeah, I understand it's a very unique thing, but that was my situation. And plus, I'm a bit of a weird duck that I like to do things my way a little bit. Like I'll look at someone and say, I'll talk to them and ask them, how do you do that? Or why'd you do that? I'm very curious, but I'm not going to copy what they did. I'm going to maybe try something and then maybe add it to my game and see what kind of wrinkle I can put on it that works for me. And then I'll, morph it or move it or do something like that.
It's almost more important to know why they're doing things because the strategy and the thinking behind it is the hardest thing to learn, I think. Yeah. Because people can learn a shot. Like you see people nowadays learning to do a rollover just by watching on videos online, right? So that's
so it's like so many people are they shoot rollovers, even though rollover is a very simple shot. They shoot it differently for different reasons. Like the way I shoot it is very different than the way a lot of other people shoot it. And like Tony Friedman shoots it one different way. Pappas, when he shot a rollover, shoots it like Terry Moore was the same way. He had his way. Trevor Park, totally different style of way of shooting a rollover. Yeah. They're all, like even though it's a very simple, appears to be a very simple shot, underneath the covers with the thought and the strategy and the reasoning. Yeah, and you have to have your own like. One of the reasons why I shoot the way I did, I shot from a very like stopped on this side, stopped on this side, stopped on this side. I couldn't just hover like rocket and be able to release because I wanted to be able to release the ball the instant I saw the hole open. So if I'm just rocking back and forth, sometimes I'm on the wrong part of the rock to go in where I wanted to go. So I needed to stop. Is it open? Nope. Is it stop? Is it open? No. Stop. Is it open? No. Stop. Is it open? Yep. Boom. So that was just my method of doing it. And then I had to add my own wrinkles because if you do that, it looks very repetitive. It looks very readable. But then, of course, you think you read it. Now I'll go the other way, kind of.
But that was a later development, I think, in your game because I played with you when you were in Victoria. When we were going to Seattle and stuff like that, I played with you a few times, and you weren't shooting that way before. And
no, it was. I tried to shoot it with that rock, but then I just couldn't. It just was never comfortable to both sides to be able to release it when I wanted. Yeah. And then plus I was also having trouble with my push side. My push side, my pull side was always my strongest. Yeah. So I was having trouble with my push side. So I actually thought, well, let's learn the push. So how do I want to learn the push? I really want to focus it. Like let's learn it. And so I thought, okay, I'll just sit on the pull side of the ball and I'll just do a push. And I'll sit on the pull side of the ball and just do a push. And so that's the way I was. And then I'd go back to the rock and can I release that push with that same thought? And over time of doing this and practicing it, I was a demon for practicing. I love to practice. So I would do these things, endlessly, thousands and thousands of times. I
remember you telling me like, I'm not I'm not going to go to sleep or do this until I hit so many in a row.
Yep.
And if I miss one, I have to start over,
Exactly,
do another, another, you know.
I think we've done a quick switch from your foosball development to the scene in Ottawa to a lot of details on your rollover, which is great. But let's get back on your career here. So in Ottawa, you've now set up the leagues. Things are up and running. Is that kind of like the plateau that you hit at Ottawa before you came down to Victoria, or did you do other things in Ottawa?
From a promotional standpoint, no, that was pretty much it. There was the leagues, and there was I think we still ran draws occasionally here and there. We never really ran like a big single tournament kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't think we tried. I think we ran maybe. Well, there was the year-end tournaments that were always in one location, so all the teams would go to one location, and that was but it was still league play. So there was a certain format of games. It wasn't a standard 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 3. It's a certain format of games.
So continue on at a high level. You've kind of come at a certain point. You moved down to Victoria.
Yeah, in 2000. Yeah.
And that was in 2000. Yeah. And at that point, you were less involved with running the show because
correct. Yeah.
Victoria itself doesn't really have a scene to speak of.
No, when I moved to Victoria, I tried to find some people to play and find a place, and I was able to get at one location a pool hall to bring in a couple tables at that time, and tried to get things going in Victoria. But there's just too much else to do in Victoria. There's hiking, biking. In the winter you can still go outdoors and enjoy Victoria, where in Ottawa you don't want to go outdoors. You want to go into a bar, have some drinks, and go play foosball. So it made sense for Ottawa and maybe some other climates in Canada, but for Victoria, no. Victoria is just beautiful year round.
Right.
So I just found you get the occasional player, we still have a couple of guys I play against maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, but there's not a consistent scene.
Whereas Vancouver has more of a population base.
True. Yeah, right.
Even though we have pretty good weather overall.
Mm-hmm. True.
So at that point, you are then coming over to Vancouver to play from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're continuing to play in the big tournaments in the States, or was...
Yeah, all throughout. So even when I was in Ottawa, I was going to some of the larger tournaments. I think that's when I started to tour. Probably 97 would be my first, I think it was my first Worlds. I remember I took 3rd in open singles. Rookie singles? Open singles, yeah, I wish. 3rd in rookie singles, so that was in 97. So then I was going to the majors even then, but then I'm like a rookie. I'm like a rookie or a semi-pro at that time.
Yeah.
So I'm still go to at least probably two to three events a year, some of these major ones, and then run the leagues. And of course, the league was always at the Hall of Fame. Kind of was the same, or the Vegas tournament was the same. They always had the league thing, and then so there was the combined, tour stop as well. So I would do both of those. So all along I was trying to rank up and get better, on the pro tour, as well as running the leagues in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. But I was at the end of Ottawa. I really didn't want to promote at that scale anymore. I did it. I've done that. It had a lot of work. It was a lot of groundwork on the phone, pulling people out, making sure people are happy. And then I just wanted to, play. So still had to have other people to play with. So you get a couple tables somewhere, and and so that's what I did in Victoria for the first bit. But still had my own table and practicing and going to tournaments as much as I could. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm more focused on my own game versus promoting and running a league per se. When I moved out west, and definitely coming out over here to Vancouver, and almost weekly coming to Sundays and playing, playing until the wee hours in the morning, and then catching the ferry back. And
I remember you were a regular there for a while.
Yeah, regularly. I'd come over, we'd play Sunday nights, we'd play all night, and then at 6 a.m. or whatever, I'd leave and catch the 7 a.m. ferry. I'd go to work at 9, and I'd get some work done and sleep as soon as I got home. I did that for probably 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Regularly. Yeah, because the Vancouver scene was just good competition. Really did help my game improve vastly.
Mm-hmm. So you were a rookie way back when,
yep.
And then you essentially were attending tournament after tournament, and I guess your rank just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah, slowly over time. Yeah, I think at some point I had a goal. I wanted to be the first Canadian male pro master. Then that just was just a long-term goal.
Yep.
That I eventually did achieve, and I was actually trying to figure out when that happened. I think you'd think that would be something when it actually made it. I actually don't know when I made it. I could probably, I don't know if there's history for that, but did achieve that for a number of years ago. But that's
Seems to me it would have been late 2000s or maybe 2010, that kind of area. But.
Probably close to there, yeah, because my last tournament was 2016, I believe, was my last like professional tour tournament. So then I was pro master for at least 5 or 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
I remember not having a lot of events to play in, finding good partners, but, you know, not having the plethora of events that you used to have as a rookie. Yeah. Go and just play all weekend long, which is great to learn. But
sorry, Peter, I hope I didn't derail your train of thought.
No, I was just we'll just continue on that. And you know, Eric, you stopped playing, and you know, I've heard this story, but a lot of people haven't. You know, it's an interesting story and speaks a lot about people. So I'd like you to tell people why you stopped playing.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a planned thing. It wasn't like, okay, this is my last one, whatever, let's go have a good time kind of thing. It was more just I went to those tournaments in 2016 and I was playing great. Like, it was on top of my game. There was no frustration. It was like, you know, all along there's been this puzzle of how do I play this game at the highest level against the best players, knowing my capabilities and my skills. Then how do I figure out a strategy to execute my game, you know, at those highest levels, dealing with the pressures and the stress. On the biggest stages, and so that was always that puzzle of trying to figure that out. And you know, I was thinking in 2016, I think it was an open singles event. I think it was Worlds possibly. I played Billy Pappas and I beat him. I just like 4 games, maybe 3 games. Like I beat him pretty well. And like everything I did, I had this whole strategy. I had this whole new method of shooting, and it was just everything just worked. It was just like everything just clicked, and I could do no wrong. You know, and he actually said after the match, "You're not supposed to play perfect." And it was like, so I didn't think anything of it at the time. But then it was like after a while, that tournament was done, and then it was like the next year came along, and it was like I wasn't like as motivated to go and try to find partners. You know, every new tour event comes up, you're like, hey, got to find those partners and start to gear up and get ready and prepare, and then I just wasn't interested in that at this time. So I thought, okay, I'll just skip the next one, whatever, and see what happens, and then just skip the next one. And then I was like, well, why am I done? What's changed? And then it took a little bit of while, and one of the possible reasons is like what Billy said, is like I played perfect. I figured the game out. I solved the puzzle, you know, kind of thing for myself, for my own little journey as to why I played. And that largely was it, because I was like, I didn't have anything, what's the new thing I need to figure out? What's the new wrinkle? What's the thing I need to practice? It wasn't really about winning ever for me. Like, that's the end result you're trying to do, but it wasn't about, can I win money? Can I be a champion? No, it was about, can I figure out this game, you know, and play it at the highest level? And like, you know, at that time when Billy said that, subconsciously I did. So I think that's really why I just stopped going. It wasn't like, okay, I figured it out, I'm done. No, it wasn't a conscious kind of decision. But and then along the same lines as well, I think there was less draw to go to tournaments. I think Moya was no longer part of it. I think she passed just around then. So then there was no draw to, you know, go with friends and things like that. Mm-hmm. No one else pulling you as well. Mm-hmm. And so it just settled like that, and it was fine with it.
Yeah.
You know.
I think I want to backtrack a little bit and talk about TSAC.
Oh, right. I remember some of that.
Yeah. So let's...
what is TSAC, Peter? Table Soccer Association of Canada. That's right. Yep.
So we were on a message board with Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatoon,
Toronto. And
Toronto was kind of separate.
Yeah.
They were on a separate message board, right?
Right.
But I can't remember what year it was. What year was it? Did we start did
2004, 2005, because the first World Cup, which is where this all was really the instigator for, was 2006. Mm-hmm. So then it would have been right before that,
mm-hmm.
like probably 2005, 2004 in there.
Yeah. So you were instrumental in getting that organization going. And do you want to talk about that at all? Or
Yeah, sure. So there's been a few cases in my life where it's like there's something going on that I just can't allow to continue. And this was one of those cases. There was the Canadian Table Soccer Federation formed. So there was this. So the ITSF came along, and they were like, "We're going to run world-class events. We're going to get foosball in the Olympics." Everyone, bought that story. It's been 20 years since then, but whatever. They really wanted to promote foosball at the international level. And in order to be a member of this, each country had to have a member federation that was a member of this international table soccer federation. And so CTSF, Canadian Table Soccer Federation, was formed by some people from Montreal and out west in Toronto. And I'll just say it this way, they were not doing things the way that they should be done from a national federation as to how to decide who gets to go and represent Canada at these World Cup or World Championship events. They were wanting to send themselves, which is not, I get it. It's early days and it's like you're doing the work and maybe you do deserve to go, but that's not the way things should be done. And so I was like, I cannot let this pass. So let's create a competing federation, and underneath the ITSF, let's make sure that they understand that we are doing things correctly, and we're going to run like qualifiers, and we're going to try to do things the right way so that we're not just sending ourselves. And so that's where the impetus of that came from. We really to create a Table Soccer Association of Canada and get some people involved and get it off the ground. I remember Tim Dudra was involved. He helped write the initial constitution. He was very good at that. And there were some others involved. There was so many. I tried to go through my emails and find out, who else was involved at the time. It wasn't like I did it alone at all.
I did a little bit.
You were involved there. Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, running one of those elections. I believe I was the impartial party to collect votes.
Nice. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so that was formed, and then everything was held in public message boards so everyone could see exactly what was going on across Canada, which was, I think, the visibility into what was happening behind the scenes was a real big issue with the CTSF. Not a lot of trust was built in what they were doing.
Yeah, I certainly remember that.
Yeah. So then we were like, okay, we have to do everything publicly. We're going to do it in public message boards. Everyone can see every minute of every discussion, and we're going to do everything on board. It created a little bit of headache sometimes to do that kind of thing. Normally you have board meetings, they're behind closed doors, you release minutes, that's fine, but we needed to take a very, I think, drastic approach. And I think it was the right approach to get everyone in Canada on board and say, yep, I think they're doing things the right way, they're trying to do things the right way, have qualifiers, make the best decisions we can given the opportunities we have. We couldn't run qualifiers across the whole country in time, but we did it within a certain number of areas. I know Calgary held one for the Western Canada for the pick, I think, 2 of the players, which Daryl Popovich and myself won. So I was even though I was like the president of TSAC, it was like conflict of interest. Do I just send myself and go represent? No, I better go win a qualifier.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I was, they were doing the filming at that time, and I actually flew out there and ran the tournament.
Yeah, I remember you were
there. And I didn't play, but it was important to me to do something, right? And, Moy and I were splitting up at the time, but, she said, you got to do what you got to do, right? So, but anyway, I'm just curious, because I don't really remember, how did your organization or the proper organization overcome the other one?
I think we just formed it and then informed ITSF that we want to compete to be the representative, and this is the reasons why we think we're the better ones, or that we're doing things the right way, and here's our message board, which is public, and we have membership, and we're going to run qualifiers, and if you start to say those types of things versus me and my friend should go, you're going to get hopefully chosen if the right people are making the right decisions, and so. Yeah, at first we tried to work with the I think I was even involved in the CTSF early days, but just through multiple discussions of the people involved, I could just see there was no swaying what they were trying to do. So I was like, no, we have to create another federation and do this right.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was a lot of animosity, I guess, and just conflict, right? But anyway,
it was early days. With one thing with the CTSF did have they had people involved were so passionate, and they went out and they did the work. They really they were trying to do the right thing, but they were just had that one little aspect of it wrong, where it's like, even though you're doing the work, it doesn't necessarily mean that you get to go. You got to run qualifiers. You got to have committees or whatever. You have to do things right. Yeah, and it just.
Yeah, I know. Adam, I think, was the driving force behind that. And I must say that he's passionate and driven, and he got people involved in doing stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And which is positive, right? There's other things that you've done, and one of them is make foosball videos. So, I mean, I have people come up to say, hey, have you seen Eric's foosball videos? And I didn't even know that you'd done these. And then I watched them and I was like, that's very interesting, and it's a great tool for new players. And, I've been telling people to look at them, right? So why don't you tell about your process and what got you to do it? And
Yeah, no, it was one of these, like, I really want to share what I've learned. I don't go out and like try to push it on people, but I like YouTube and putting up a video and allowing people to consume it at their leisure is like perfect for me. Like I get to share the information that I've learned, or share what I'm doing with my game or whatever. And just that full format. And I got a new camera. I thought, well, what can I do with my camera? I can record some videos. And at the time I was into golf, and there was this golf book called The 5 Fundamentals of Golf by Steve Elkington, I think his name was. And I thought, well, can I make a foosball series called The 5 Fundamentals of Foosball? And I thought, well, what would I do? Well, there'd be like 5 little sections. Okay, you can control the ball, you can set up, you can read, decide, execute. Okay, those are the 5 fundamentals. I'll do a video on each of those. And then I put that together. Then I put together a little defensive one with like the duplicity of defense. Like as we're defenders, we can also think, if I was looking at this defense, what would I do? So then you can adjust it accordingly. So it's like you can look at your own defense and kind of make adjustments as you go. So that was the duplicity of defense videos. I did. I had some requests to do the mental game, which I was so surprised I would have never done before. So because I have always been deep into the mental game. Like early on in my foosball career, I identified I was a choker and I needed to figure out the mental game just as much as being able to execute a shot. And so I worked on that, and I figured out what worked for me, and then I shared that in a mental, what's the mental game of foosball, which applies to anything really. It's not just foosball. But so then I released those videos. It's just a nice format to be able to, take what I've learned, because everything I do, there's a reason for it. I've researched it. I understand why I've done it, where it came from, and so if I can just share that with people, and they can find some benefit from it, then great. It's up there for free. There's no advertising. It's just I've never gone into that. It's not why I did it. I think some of the videos have like 50, 60,000 views or whatever. It's like, fine, great.
It's nice.
Yeah. like Europe is actually there was quite the Germans like just ate it up, which is great.
A
method, exactly. Yes. yeah. It is very, very methodical, very, very, control, set up, read, decide, execute, get on the 3, control, set up, read, decide, execute. So I did a little video series talking about each of those steps, and then a little demonstration series showing what that might look like, how to control the ball, how to set it up on a 3-rod, how to read what you're doing, how to execute from the 2-rod. What do you mean execute? Then it went into about when you're executing, what does that mean to have a series of options, a series of shots or whatever passes you do that work with each other. They aren't just like random options that you do.
Right. There's
like, if this one doesn't work, you now have one that you can go to because you have an option that works off that one. So that's how I built my game as well. Like it's everything. If you do something, you better have a option off of it, because if they block that, then you can fake that and then do the other. It's immediate go to. So that's in there, mixed in there as well, if I recall. Yeah.
And viewers, when you're done watching this video, you'll see down below in the notes some links to Eric's videos.
A little dry. It's a little bit funny. The way before the normal YouTube days is not like, hey guys, what's up? Like and subscribe. No, it's dry. It's like, hi, my name's Eric Dunn. Yeah.
I don't think you should undersell them.
This is called Deadpan Foosball.
Yes. Deadpan Foosball 101. Yeah.
Okay, that's all fun and everything, but don't undersell, because they are wonderful videos.
Yeah, the values.
Really like the practice videos as well. I don't know if you mentioned those, but those are awesome.
That's true.
Ways to practice and how to build up the pressure, even though it's just you on the table. How can you generate that pressure to get you to be able to play better under pressure? Right. So I think that's great. Yeah. So again, we'll have those links down below.
Yeah. So I'm we're in the Hall of Fame. Okay.
Peter's in the Hall of Fame. Eric's in the Hall of Fame.
Soon, maybe Richard.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Maybe when I turn 80, you should give me a
okay.
thing.
For making it that far.
For making it, yeah.
This is kind of I didn't say I was going to ask you these questions, but it just came to mind, so I thought I'd ask. So, being from the West, we don't really know a lot of the early top players from Like, well, we know the Marios, right? But like the Quebec players, we don't really know much about them. We haven't been exposed to them. And who were some of the early players, like on the 2006 team and things like that?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right that we really didn't know those players, and it only was because of like trying to form these teams and get it like a well-balanced team that could play multi-table. Because we could have put together a team of a bunch of tornado experts, but then we would have been, really had difficulty against on those other tables. So it always made sense for Canada. I think it's one of the actual advantages of Canada that we have this multi-table, scene across Canada. So then, a tournament, it's multi-table, so it makes sense that we would send, try to put together a team like that. Some of the earlier ones where we started to get exposed to them, Julien was like, I think he was part of the second World Cup team.
Julian's last name.
Etienne, like he have a combined last name. I can't remember but Julien, he was like super strong.
From Montreal?
Yeah. Or in that, from Quebec somewhere. I'm not sure what city within Quebec, but just super strong, like on Tornado and on his own tables. Just a super solid game. It's like a lot of the Eastern players have a lot of like, I wouldn't say flair, but there's a lot of like, in my mind, there's a lot of inconsistency in those styles of games. There's a lot of power and a lot of like, I wouldn't say flair, but a lot of
variety.
Variety, possibly, yeah.
Opportunist.
Maybe yeah. But Julian's game was just solid. Like if he was on tour and consistently, he would be pro master easily. And that was like way back when. He was just solid 5 bars, solid shot, solid mentality, just solid all around. So he was one that really impressed me early on. But other than that, I haven't really had much exposure to a lot of them. I know there was Laurent. Laurent's just like amazing. Wherever the ball lands, he's able to come up with some shot and just execute it so well. So that was always amazing. Just the opposite, the antithesis. The antithesis. So Laurent was like the antithesis of my game. My game's very controlled, very strategic. His game, ball lands there. What's the best shot you can do from that point? And it's coming hard and it's something amazing. Like, so it's that's why I love the game. There's so many different ways to.
Yeah, he still plays like that.
He does. Yeah.
And I think he did well down at Worlds just a little while ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, So it's, no, I don't really have any much other exposure to. There's definitely the players in Toronto, like, the Marios and Sean and Mario Rigonneau and definitely and Kane. Early days were such a solid contingent and new as well. And Alava was part of that. Alava was part of the first World Cup team with Kane and Mario, and Adam and Dennis and Louis and Moya. Yeah. And then there's a couple other women on the team as well. Yeah.
Julie, maybe?
Yeah, I think Julie, was one of them. And there was one other that was listed in the roster. Maybe she didn't come. Maybe there was one that didn't come, but most of my experience, probably most of my exposure to players from out east have been meeting them at tournaments in the States. Funny enough, it's we go down there and you play someone from Canada, it's a new player to you, which is great, but it's like, it feels a little weird that had to go down here in, Ann Arbor, Michigan to play some guy from Quebec, which from your own country.
Vegas is very much like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I've seen the most Toronto players at Vegas more than the last Toronto tournament that I went to. Like the senior guys, like the master level guys.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to say that we haven't talked about or?
Nothing terribly important. I think it's just more of an interesting another one of these things that I've done and contributed to foosball that I don't think is brought up often, is that there was a official app on the iPhone that everyone used to ref matches.
Yes.
I built that and I released that. It's I was, again, one of those circumstances where I was spurred into action by something else I really didn't like. Someone else came up with an app that there was like early days, the first app, and he had the phone, he put it on the table, and he says, it's going to detect jars, but using the accelerometer. I was like, that's such a bad idea. No, I cannot have that be the reffing app that gets the most, used to start. So, early actor is one who often, wins, whatever. So I went off and I bought a Mac, a Mini, and I taught myself how to make apps. And 8 days later, I released iRefFoos, and then I put it up there for free again and just paid the yearly fee for whatever long. And up until the point in time, it really was complicated for me to continue to do it. So then I stopped, and I often wish I kept it up, because it would have been nice to make some newer versions of it. Because I always had ideas of ways to make it better, especially with with cameras today. They can actually detect so much.
Oh yeah,
and be able to just detect where the ball is in relation to what's happening, and say, well, it's on the 3-rod. Start the 3-rod timer.
Yeah,
it's on the 5-rod now. Like, just hold the phone up and it should do it for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Was always the dream. You know,
because you might have seen the video. The local kid from UBC built a foosball playing robot, and it had to be able to view where the ball is on the table. He didn't get it to 100% or anything, but it would be down that road. Right?
Yeah,
it would be
but
really
he
cool
also
to
had
see.
like 6 or 8 cameras pointed at the table.
Well, that's pretty well what you have to do.
Yeah.
Is have a lot of detection going on, and then AI to figure out stuff. So
yeah. So having having that app was out there was nice too. It was one of those.
I remember when you developed that. Yeah. So you were making me feel guilty because I use a different app.
Probably had an Android. It's okay.
No. But it's good to hear that you decommissioned it. I mean, from my guilt point of view.
Thanks for that. I have some questions because about Moya, right? And it's because at the time where she was touring a lot, you were traveling with her quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know you guys had discussions about strategy and things like that, and just a different perspective from my experience with her, because she's not here to say anything, right? So I just thought I'd ask a few questions, or if you have anything that you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, it was just great many years of traveling to tournaments with Moya. It was more like I could see the journey that she was on. Like for the first few years, it was about like being part of her journey to really break through that there's a barrier of women in foosball, which just shouldn't be there. Like, foosball is one of those unique sports where it's like you can get on the table, and if you can move the rod back and forth and flick your wrist, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to beat anyone in the world, in my mind. If you're male or female, short, tall, fat, skinny, large, muscular, like, it's why anyone can play it. Yeah. So the fact that there was this stigma about like women couldn't compete in open events and they would never win something like that was just didn't make sense to me. And there's this girl who's like, screw that, I'm going to prove them wrong. And that was her, from my perspective, and someone talking with her, that was her mission for quite a few years, was really to break that barrier and just fight for it, and just being part of that fight, and her figuring out her game is how to do that, how to compete with the men and deal with the male ego and all that kind of stuff. And just, so there was that portion of it, but then there was also that we always had this really good ability just to talk about ideas together. Like, we had totally different games. Like her game was very different than mine. We wasn't like, we didn't do anything the same at all. Like, we didn't have the same 5-bar. We didn't have the same shooting strategies. We didn't have the same approaches from defense. Everything was different, but we were able to bounce ideas off each other so well. Like, we just go, I'm thinking about this. What do you think about that? And what should you do here? And this happened in this match. And just be able to just talk with someone as knowledgeable as you and as passionate and as open as well. There wasn't like, well, there's never that was dumb, you shouldn't have done that, or you choked, you suck. It was never that, like you might get from some people if you talk to things. But with Moya and I, it was just constant sharing, constant like just appreciation of each other's games, given how uniquely different they were. We even tried playing together sometimes, and we thought we'd be able to play together well, but no, it just didn't. Again, different personalities. Like, if I'm playing forward, I don't need to be the center of attention, but I don't need my goalie to be the center of attention. Where with Moya's on the table, she needs to be the center of attention, which is all good to her. But it just didn't work. So we're like, that doesn't work. But which didn't hurt anything. It just tried it. We understand it's not going to work. But no, it was great all those years. I'd always have she'd come down into the ferry, pick me up, and we'd drive to Seattle and drop the car off or whatever, and take a flight out of Seattle or wherever we're going out of. We just did that, like, I don't know how many years, but it was so nice just to be able to have that partner to go and just go on this journey with, and to share ideas. And we would talk endlessly about strategies, and actually some of the shooting strategies that I came up with and finally settled on and allowed me to get to Pro Master and really compete well and figure out the game was on a plane trip to, it might have been Germany. It might have been the first or second World Cup. I'm not sure which one. But it's really, we came up with my shooting strategy of, shoot this way and the next ball shoot this way, and predetermine what these ways were. So there's like 5 ways that I would switch between, and it was like predetermined.
It's not like 5 holes are predetermined.
No, 5 ways.
5 ways are
Yeah,
predetermined.
like one, you might shoot hole. I might get the ball and be like, I'm reading for the first 5 or 6 seconds to know what I'm going to do next ball.
Yep.
And then, then the
Right.
next ball.
Yeah,
then after that, then I'm shooting later in that ball. And then I might shoot I'm trying to read for the defender. What does the defender want me to do?
Yeah, that's meta enough that your opponents are not going to pick up on the pattern.
That's the whole point of it. And it allowed me to kind of, like with my own mental insecurities about how to figure out what should I do now. It was predetermined and pre-planned. I was like, okay, number 4, do this.
Oh, nice.
And it just cleared my head.
Even if you're in a rut, you have something to grab onto.
Exactly. And I knew exactly what to do. And then if it came time to big points, whatever, like it's like 3-3 or 4-4, well, I'd pick the one that worked the best. Now I have I can pick something out that I know exactly what I did, what I was doing, and did it work or not. Then I was okay. I'll do that one again. That way of shooting, not that hole per se or that whatever it was. But it's So it's about a way of reading and then a way of reacting to whatever it is I might be seeing. So that came from discussions with Moya. That concept, that idea of like talking back and forth about what can I do to help myself decide what's next. In a match, if I'm trying to in a match figure it out, I just can't. I can't do it. Others can. I can't do it. I just my brain is too busy and too focused on that and trying to like play and try to coach at the same time. I could never do it. I needed to separate those two. And
that's really smart for anyone though, because there's those moments when your mind is just on fire. You can do anything.
Yeah.
You don't need that strategy,
No.
in my opinion. But then those moments are like 1/8 of the playing time. The other,
That's right, yeah.
When your mind starts to slow down after 8 hours of playing, or even after an hour of playing, like to have something like that is an awesome strategy.
Yeah, no, it's more just allow me just to go into like automatic mode, like talk about getting the flow state or getting in the zone kind of thing. I just to me it came from football. Like if you I watch a lot of NFL football, and you have coaches that call the play. The player is like, okay, coach, I'll do that. Yeah. And they don't question it. They just do the play. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to have for myself.
Right.
Like
your own coach.
My own coach was like, they make the call. Player, now just do it. Don't question it. Don't doubt it. Where before I was always like, oh, should I shoot man this time? Is that going to work? Is he baiting me? Like, this, like, no.
Right.
Now it's just like, do this. Okay. And I just, allowed my mental thing to just be relaxed and be able to just to play and without.
But it can't have been easy to come up with the actual sequence of.
No, that took years. One learning, like it wasn't like 2001. I'm gonna have a goal in 2005 to be able to do this. No, it was more just like, okay, these are the ways I can shoot. I can shoot on man. Always have been able to shoot at a man.
Right,
that's just natural.
Yes.
Then I need to learn to shoot at a hole. Okay, that I could do that as well. Then I was like, what other things can I do? Like, well, then I want to be able to vary my timing. So you want to be able to do that naturally. So I was like, okay, I'll do this thing where the first 5 or 6 seconds, I'm not going to shoot. I'm reading for next one. So the next ball I get in that first 5 or 6 seconds,
right.
Now I know what I'm shooting. And I know it's right. Now it's an early shot, but it's planned. It's not like a rush or a panic shot or a quick shot. It's something I read previously. So it's and it just
that's very
all
cool.
Kind of came. And there was a few of them in there. There was one that was like peekaboo, I called it, where it's like I would literally look at the floor for 7 seconds, and I'd look up, and if push was open, I'd hit it. If not, I'd call a timeout. Like that was. It was just. I didn't use that. That wasn't in the pure rotation. That was in the things aren't working. I need to switch things up, kind of thing, just to get my mind from stop reading the defense, and maybe put something, a little doubt in their mind. Well, why do you shoot there, kind of thing.
Nice.
But
it's great that you understand yourself or understand what you need. And I think that's what a lot of players, the big struggle for them is to understand where they're inadequate in their game and what they need to do. And some never get over that barrier, right? So
it's a tough thing. Like I've lucky enough, have always just been curious and being like, what do I need to do to get to the next level? Like, what do I need to do to progress?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about, oh, I'm bad at this, I don't want to do that. It's what do I need to do? Like, it's like, oh, my loose pickup game sucks. Okay, work on it. Like, it's like, I hate the fact that I'm in a match, the ball is bouncing around and often the other guy gets it because my loose ball pickup game is not as good as most. But I work on it and try to get it as adequately as I can. and just other things like that as well. It's like, okay, I only shoot man comfortably. Like I need to learn how to shoot otherwise. Like it's in order to get to that next level, because I'm going to reach goalies very quickly at the master level who's like, he only shoots man, and I know how to bait that, and I'm going to own him all day if he only shoots that way. So I just know. But a lot of players will be like, well, I want to win, I'm just going to keep hammering it, and then I'm like, oh well, he beat me. And it's like, no, I want to learn how to deal with any kind of defense that ever comes along. And,
So one more thing is that Moya was, I think, quite a bit like you in that she had people that she picked up things from, but a lot of her development was all self-thought and worked out. Because I remember when she was starting out, she was, when she started coming to our tournaments, she wasn't very developed. She had, she wouldn't give up, and she kept on trying hard. But, one day she's got the brush pass up, brush pass, then another week, a week or two later, she'd have the brush pass down. And then the next thing it'd be, a chip up and her passes kept on developing, and, like a slow wall pass. You'd never think that would get by, and she'd disguise it. And
it goes with the chip so well.
Yeah. I was watching that video that you gave for Mitch, right? And in the background, you could see Moya taking a shot, and it was just her arm moving. That's it, right? and no tell. So, she did say that she thought that she could compete against the men, but the biggest thing was that she didn't have the stamina, because I think part of it is because the women play so many events, right?
Like women's events.
And, But, I think she had a world-class 5-bar. Right. And anyway, I'm just preaching now. But I think we're pretty much done.
I got a question for you that I could have asked a lot earlier. But aside of the match with Billy Pappas, which was a key moment for you, what would you say is the most important match in your memory? Like some either most proud of or most interesting, or just whatever it comes back in your mind from time to time.
Yeah, definitely the matches against Frederico. The first time beating him, and actually I was doing some research, and there was a article that described what happened at that event, and can't remember the year, but it was open singles, second round. I beat him. But he came back and won 13 straight matches and then won that event. So that was the article for the mention. And he lost second round to Eric Dunn.
Yes. All right, yes.
But true enough, he came back and won it.
But there was beating Frederico.
Yeah.
He didn't spend much time on the losers bracket. No. He's a lot like Tony is today. You would expect him just to win all the way up and then take the final. So.
Yeah, no, that was really one of the first, because I've always been a big avid watcher of Inside Foods videos. Like I was a subscriber since he started. I get every video VHS sent to me. Sometimes they show up busted. He sent me a new one, and now it's DVDs, which is good. And now it's digital. And I've stopped, but because I don't watch them anymore. But anyways, I was always watching these videos, and Fred was always on there. So I'd be able to watch what he's doing and watch and want to. I've always had a good, feel through watching these videos for all the masters, because of what they did. They're all consistent. They have games and options that you can read. They're not just like random, like maybe today. There's a lot more quick play and I wouldn't say randomness, but quick play today.
Surprise.
Yeah, probably a better way to put it. Yeah. So then when I played Fred, it was like familiar for me, but not for him. Like,
right. He wouldn't have seen you play much.
Yeah, no. I think I played him. We played him. Mary and I played him at the finals of the World Championships in Italy. That was the first time I think I played him. They won, him and Saban. I can't remember his partner's name. But they won that.
Ishmael?
Ishmael Saban. Yeah, that was his name. Yeah, thank you. And Mary and I. So that was like, I think the first time we played him, and I didn't really have a good defense against him at that point in time. And that's actually another example of one of those times where it's like, if something's not working, I need to just figure it out. How can I make this work? There's not like an ego involved. So playing Fred, I think it was a draw, maybe even I was playing Fred once. And I remember I was doing my defense. I was playing back. At least I went to back, and he was shooting. And sometimes when you have a defense and you've done something and you've set up the guy with your bait and you've timed it perfectly and you know it's going to be a block, he's like, yep, it's coming. But he beat my bait. I was like, I did everything I could in my power. He went exactly where I wanted him to.
Yep.
But he beat me there. So I was like, this isn't going to work. The normal defense is not going to work.
Yeah.
I need to come up with something else. And so then it kind of dawned on me. There was an early tournament once I overheard Don Swan talking to someone about the way he defends. And he's like, every 3 seconds, I give him a different defense, as he said.
Right,
and
right.
I just remembered that. I was like, okay, I'll try that. I'll try next time I play him. Every 3 seconds, I'm going to give Fred a different defense. So because he's so good at reading. So I'm not going to give him anything to read, was the thought.
Right.
But still have a good solid defense. It's not just silliness and random. There's like,
No.
So the way I came up with doing it was actually playing songs in my head. So that my movement was different. It wasn't just 3 different defenses. It was actually timed differently with different beats and things like that.
You had different songs.
Different songs in my head. So it's like, yeah. So I did that, and that's what I used against him in that open singles match. And he could not score on me. There was like block after block after block, and I'd get a ball on my 3-rod, and I'd set it up on my standstill, looking at push, and he couldn't race my push. I would sit there dead still, like I was at the time, and I'd just hit. He would try to race me. He'd just sit there, jittery, and just try to race me, and I'd be like, and he'd just, and then he'd go and play, and it's again and again. He couldn't race my push. I think I hit one push fake pull, which got him a little bit calm. But other than that, another thing with him too, it's like I remember with his down brushes. Because I was doing an off the wall back to the wall
on 5.
On my 5 is one of the things I had in my series. But he was so fast in his reactions that my off the wall back down to the wall, he would go off the wall and he'd already be back down when I came down the wall. So I was like, well, that works on everyone else but him. So I'm gonna do off the wall, down to the wall, down to the wall. And then that worked against him kind of thing, because he just the timing of it, whatever. So that was then one of those special,
like a double pump, right?
Yeah. It was almost like a little bit illogical almost, because I'd fake the wall and then go to the wall. Like it was like off the wall, fake the wall, go to the wall, which is like you think you fake the wall to get the guy to go to the wall, but then you wouldn't expect him to come off the wall. But Fred would. He was so fast. He'd be like, "Oh, I fell for the bait. Come off."
Yeah.
Like, and so then you'd go. You'd have to double it.
You weren't there, so he went to the other hole.
Yeah. So
You'll see Mitch do that kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
sometimes.
probably. Yeah. So there's a few things like that worked in that match, and I wish someone recorded it or whatever, but it didn't. But I think what was one of my best memories was, yes, I won against him there, but then 6 years later I played him again in another open singles event. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Hall of Fame or Worlds or whatever, and I beat him again. But the funny thing is, my game entirely changed between 6 years between the last time I played him in open singles and this time. Now I'm shooting my shot entirely different, and I went back to the way I shot.
I was just going to ask a question whether it was because the songs changed.
No, the defense was still good, but my attacking. I went back to the same defenses. Yeah, actually, there's another funny story.
Songs are getting stale.
They're a little oldies now. Yeah, no. So Tommy Atkinson was reffing, and during the match, the second match, he had Ingrid, his wife, spotting. And Tommy stopped the match and says, "You can't spot. You're giving him signals as to where to shoot, where to shoot." Because Fred was like, "Well, the last time I played him, I couldn't, shoot very well on him. So let's get some help."
Right,
Makes
you're not
sense.
allowed live coaching.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
That you're not allowed to do it, but he's a competitor, and I get it. He's going to do everything he can to win. I don't have any grudge against that. There's a ref there. It's his job to do that. And Tommy did his job. He saw Ingrid be like, he's spotting and you giving signals to Fred as to where to shoot based on my defenses, but she couldn't read my defense either. So it didn't work. So I was like, I still won. Right? Yeah, what's the point? So I won that match again. And that's actually another thing during the match. There was a shot I did in the first match, a double pump pull kick. So from pull side, double pump pull kick, just again, him and his reacting. You have to do things twice to get him to react the way you want.
Right.
So it was a double pump pull kick. Couldn't just do a single pull kick because you just kill it. Because you had to do the double pump. You have to fake.
Was that like a slow pump, a slow kick, and then a faster kick?
It was. You're exactly right. Yeah.
Like a hesitation wall pass, only it's a hesitation pull kick.
Could be
it's
double pump.
Tony, it come to the middle guy and then back.
Yeah. It's like across, hit the close guy, go back, and then back.
Gotcha.
It's like it's longer and then bang.
Yeah.
And I hadn't hit that shot in 6 years. Like I haven't hit that shot again since I did it against Fred in the first match. So I thought, well, that worked last time. let's try it again. And sure enough, just pulled it out, just out of nowhere, and it just happened. And I think I actually won with that one. And I remember seeing him after that match, just sitting in one of those chairs. It was just like, just distraught, like he didn't know what to do, I thought.
So 2 matches he beat.
Yeah, 2 matches. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
that's the first one's like great. Yeah, everyone may get lucky, but the second one's like, you know what, this stuff works. And
it's one of those matchups.
I have a bit of a game, against these high master players.
Do you recall who called the ref and why?
I've always called the ref instantly against Fred.
Oh, okay.
I just one of those things I learned. Is just
does he have a reputation for stop ball passes? Or?
He's just a competitor. Like at that, when you get to those levels, it's like there's certain players who are just going to compete with everything they can. Like if you think about basketball, like in basketball, you have 5 fouls. If you don't use up all your 5 fouls, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
So it's kind of that thing. They take that mentality to foosball, and if there's a ref there, I have no qualms at all. But when there's a ref not there, and they're doing that, that's when things get. I'm just like, there's certain players
just call a ref and then you don't have to worry about
it. Exactly. So it's not like I think he's going to cheat or whatever. It's just I don't want to have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't want the level of the game to get to a point where you don't really want to compete, like not compete at, but like I remember going down to Seattle and there'd be like jarring like crazy and things like that. And it's nice to know that where the limit is and that it's going to be consistent. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For me, mostly it was just not allow me to worry about it. I didn't have to worry about it at all. It's someone else's job to look at all the things that was happening. Sure. Was it 3 walls? Was it 15 seconds? Once someone's there with the clock, I'm like, I stop counting because sometimes I do count when someone else has the ball. 1, to get a sense, when did they shoot? But 2, are they going over time? And then, of course, I'm counting while I'm defending. Well, no, I should be just focusing on defending.
Exactly.
That's distracting away from what I should be doing. And if we just get a ref, it just early on I learned sometimes it's just, especially with me, I don't like to argue and fight with people. I'm not a confrontational person. I'd rather just have a clean game and just, good job, you won. I don't want to have to argue over jars or resets or stuff. that gets me out of my game. So I was like, I'll pay the $5 for the ref and let them worry about it. Which is fine. It's good. I think it's just a better way to go. I think if they could, they should have refs all the time at the higher level things.
Sure.
Sometimes it comes down to like 4-4 and you trust the guy across the table not to take that little advantage against you, and then it's too late. It's like sometimes it's in the middle of a match. You're not too worried because it's like, he jarred me, whatever. But it's like 4-4 and that was the ball that I landed on my 3 and all of a sudden he's, get a ref. And it's like, well... Okay, it's too late. There's only so much you can do.
In Toronto, Ab and I were in the finals of expert doubles, and we called the ref because the other guys felt that we were jarring too much. So it just meant that, again, we could just not worry about it. Right?
I usually, against some players, I just right from the start. Don't even risk it. Don't get a ref. They'll call the match, and I'm like, I'll go up to the front. I need a ref for table 2, or whatever it is. I think playing with Jeep killed the fun out of me.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah, because with playing with Jeep's very much, he was like very clear with this. Is like every possession, do everything you can to win that ball.
Oh, Jeep.
Like do not risk anything ever. Like because every possession matters, is the most important ball on earth. And so with that mentality, they're like, there's no room to do anything else but read, take the full time, execute everything you can, every single focus and determination you have to execute that pass, whatever it is, and then do the same thing on the 3-rod, like again and again. And it just, it takes a little bit of the fun out of it, but it's really effective and it hones your game and it just keeps you focused. And especially with me, if I ever tried something, off script, like a little quick shot or whatever, I'd kick myself and it would just get me off my game for, a few minutes or maybe even through the rest of the match where I just, you shouldn't have done that, you idiot. And, so it just removed any risk of that. And he was just very much he wasn't like his stop ball stuff was never really I'm going to stop the ball and make him still so I could pass. He was just milking the pass and get the time as much as he could. It wasn't about cheating. It was just using everything he had in his power to get the best results.
And that rule was always there that if the ball stops and you pass it immediately, where there's no scientific basis for what immediate is. So there's always going to be a little gray area there.
He just took the fun out of my game in some ways, which stuck because it's like, that makes sense. I agree with it. It's not like, I took the fun out of my game. No, it's I agree with it.
Is it fair to say that it took the fun out of your game and it made it more fun for you?
Because I was able to...
Because you're able to win? I mean, let's face it. When you have a winning day, It feels pretty darn good.
I've always said like excellence is fun. Like excellence is the most fun you can ever have.
Yeah.
Like I coach soccer now, and it's even tell this to my boys. Like they'll show up to practice and they'll want to have fun. And I was like, you guys know what's more than fun? Like being excellent at something. You want something that's like all empowering, and you stroke that whatever it is you want to do, and how that feels way better than fun. Being goofy and laughing with your buddies.
Yeah.
Like you want to do that before practice. When you're here with us, let's be excellent. Like I don't say let's be excellent, that would be corny, but that's like striving for excellence.
Yes.
Is like, and getting there, because you all know you hit a shot or whatever from, and you just feels good, and you're just like, oh, that's just, I want that feeling again. Versus like laughing at some guy's joke. That's fun. It's fun, but it's not the same.
I like to. I'm playing with like rookie amateur players. I like to say, there's no easy goals in foosball. So sometimes people are just trying things because they want to get lucky with a goal, right? But it's exactly like you say. You have to put in the effort. You may catch a guy off guard 1 out of 4 times or whatever, right?
Yeah, and the other 3 times you've now lost the ball, and those are 3 opportunities that you could have done something more effective and giving yourself a better chance. Yeah. And in those margins, when they're so close at the higher levels, it's like that's sometimes the difference. You do that 3 or 4 times a game, you just giving the other guy a goal somewhere.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
That could be the difference.
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent point to make, that people have to realize, right? A lot of people are trying, but they don't know the level to get to the next level. It's 100% commitment and drive to do the right play,
and
the right pass.
The discipline all the time. The discipline is so hard. It's mentally taxing. Just to have that discipline to consistently do it.
You want to break, right?
I just want a quick shot. It could go in. It'd be so much easier if it just went in. Versus all this, read the defense, or what am I doing? What does he want? It's like,
But that's something that is very important to pass on to players, right?
Yeah. If they want to take their game to the next level, yeah. But sometimes just if you want to just have fun and just play for fun and have trick shots and stuff, and that's go do that if that's your game and that's why you play. And then but I always wanted to get better and see how far I could go. And so that's what it took.
This has been super interesting, Eric.
Cool.
Having a look at where you came from, how you started, and how you built up the scene in Ottawa as well, and then built up your own game to make it up to the master level and beat some pretty damn good players too.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah. It's been a few long. I never beat Tony. That's the one I wish I would have had more opportunity to play. I think I only played him once. He destroyed me.
What's funny is that I played. Moy and I played Tony in a big tournament in Saskatchewan, and Moy and I were pissed because we weren't the number 2 seed, and we ended up playing Tony on the winner's side, and he was doing to me what Frederico was doing to you, where he was going exactly where I wanted. But he was getting there just the
second before.
Yeah. And I knew where he was shooting. I was there, and it was like sweat ball last game, and Emilio Gilmore shot a goal shot and won the game, and I was so deflated. And then we ended up playing Biney and you mentioned him earlier.
Don Swan,
yeah. And we lost to them. But, it was, I've only experienced that a few times. And usually I get them, but he was just on me, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Eric. That was great. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, it was awesome. Eric, I played with you a few times. And, I must say that it was a pure pleasure playing with you in the Vancouver tournament, and
thank you. Yeah.
I admired how advanced your game got, and it made
it was rusty.
Yeah, you said you hadn't played much in 5 years, but or a couple of years, but it was it's one of the highlights of my playing career, right?
Nice.
I appreciate.
I really enjoyed it too, because it was really nice to be able to come back. And I was always scared to be able to come back and compete. and then still have that mental game, because I had to build a mental like game for myself and practice and have techniques to deal with things. And then those things I've not been practicing. So then to come back with you, to make it a very comfortable environment and to have someone to actually, go through that with, just made it an enjoyable experience where I was almost like, maybe I should go back on. No, I shouldn't go back on. No. So it was really, really nice to come back and just have another common soul to kind of, talk about things. And, you've learned about my shooting strategies and why, and you're like trying to support it and kind of say, you can do this one. And so that's just critical for a partner, when you can just support what they're trying to do and not, hey, you should do this. And which often,
that's never a good idea.
Yeah. I had one guy once, actually it was Matt Botros at World Cup. We're down in, I think it was Germany or France and somewhere. And I'm playing doubles with him in a match. And he goes, hey, you know what? You have a tell. I'm like, and it's like in the middle of a match. And then he left it at that. And then we go back in the match, and my mind is like destroyed. Like I am gone. I'm like, switch. You go play forward. I just didn't know what to give me some more information. What is my tell? How could I use it?
Maybe he just wanted to play forward.
Maybe that was it. Maybe that was his go-to thing to say to someone. No, we've talked about that and laughed about it too. He learned, is like, yeah, sometimes that's not the best thing to tell someone. But yeah, that's a funny one.
You do me a favor, when you're done looking at the list, put it down before you start asking the question.
Certainly, sir.
He's got a hard-ass producer on his case.
Yeah, well. Okay, now I forgot what I was going to ask. Okay. Hey, Jerry, you calling?
Hey, Pete, it's Mitchell.
Hey, Mitchell, how you doing?